You're listening to Never Go Against the Family, a podcast by the University of Northern Iowa Family Business Center. Today, Dan Binkin is interviewing Heidi Vermeer-Quist. Heidi runs our next generation peer groups here at the Family Business Center and comes from a family business herself. She grew up with Vermeer Corporation outside of Pella, Iowa, and now operates VQ Consult with her husband. Heidi and Dan today talk about the importance of all things next generation, what they should be taking to heart, and how they need to get into leadership. Keep listening to hear their conversation.
Hello, everyone. I'm Dan Binkin. Welcome to another episode of Never Go Against the Family. So today my guest is Heidi Vermeer-Quist, who is hello, and we're so appreciative to have you on with us today, Heidi. I feel like I want to say, our quote for our title comes obviously from The Godfather, and sometimes I think of you as the godmother of family business interaction and holisticness and getting people back together and able to have a family reunion again and all those things. And I know you're instrumental in what you do with your own family, with the Vermeer family, but you also do a lot of consulting work with other families across the country. You do a lot of speaking in this space. I can see that you have a lot of passion for family business, as do a lot of your family members, right? And so today, hoping we can talk a little bit about next gen development. That's an area where you do a lot of work, do a lot of mentoring and working with next gens, especially those in Iowa, which is cool for us. And so if you could maybe just kind of walk us through a little bit about your process with next gen development, the types of things you like to focus on with next gens, especially, those earlier in their career.
Yep, happy to, because really, I am a next gen. I guess I'd say I'm more of a now gen myself. I'm not young like I was once, Dan.
I like that now gen.
About godmother, I feel like that's aging.
Does that sound too old? Okay. Never go against the family.
It also could go a little dark pretty fast, but I do think potentially my own family members have probably seen the dark side.
That's
and
fair.
It's not pretty, but with other families in business, I'm so nice. So nice.
Of course you are.
Because I'm from Pella and we're all nice in Pella.
Exactly.
At least to those who aren't related.
Extremely passive with a little bit of aggressive if you get there.
Oh, we're intense for sure.
Intense.
Oh, yeah. So I just have, when you say passion, that's very true, because I grew up a third generation with Vermeer family and did not feel like I really fit because I didn't have a ton of passion for manufacturing, particularly yellow iron equipment, particularly not really a big, huge passion for me. What was great about Vermeer, and still is great, and just is part of my DNA for sure, is our biblical principles and how we treat people. And so I will always be very devoted and try to engage however is most helpful to the family and the family business at Vermeer. And so my passion with next gens of any other business is trying to really help them to work through their own unique person that they are, and seeing that there is no cookie cutter. We're all very different. And it's very important for, first and foremost, us to understand who we are, how we're made, how we, function really well. What kinds of work do we do well? What kinds of work we quite frankly not do very well, and take time to be able to explore those things. I think the next gen peer groups that we've done at UNI, which have been really great, it's kind of a combination of education and support group.
Yeah,
it's kind of how I experience those, and we meet every month to some degree. I think we just take off 2 months sort of in the summer, but
so you can really speak to the, I don't know that I fit here in terms of working for a family company.
Yep.
And how can I contribute in other ways, of course, is something that
Mhm.
you've very much thrived at. And then, helping others kind of find their way. What kinds of things are helpful for them as they're thinking about, boy, I feel like mom and dad really want me to come back, or I feel
Even
the O word, the obligation,
Yep.
those
Yep.
kinds
Even
of
if mom and
things.
dad, if nobody encourages them to do it, I think there's a tendency for the next generation to feel the pressure,
Yeah,
to feel
self-induced.
a lot of times very self-induced and feel almost guilty if they don't go back. Now, there have been a few cases in which the older generation has been like afraid to put that pressure on their kids, and then they almost back off too much and they don't engage the next generation enough to be able to say, hey, you're welcome,
There's a
to
spot here for
check
you.
it,
Yeah.
to check it out. And I mean, I do encourage that we never ensure, hey, there's a spot for you, unless it's an obvious spot that you're gonna do well in,
Okay.
right? So
Okay.
the
Yeah.
next gen and the older gen in relationship to them need to just take that proactive mindset of unpacking who is this person. And as they get into college age, young 20s, I'm a big fan of get some coaching, go through some career psychological testing. We take all of our next gens through psychological testing when they're college age at Vermeer, and I highly recommend doing
How intense is that? I'm thinking of
pretty
Clockwork Orange
intense.
right now. Okay.
Not that bad.
Okay. Phew.
No. Yeah, we don't put them in straight jackets and
Okay. Okay.
shock them or anything like that.
Okay.
But we do have them go meet with a clinical psychologist, not me.
Of
Definitely
course.
somebody who's, ethically not going to be related to them or have an outside relationship. And they do, yeah, a combination of some personality assessment. So too, we are looking to see where do they maybe have any struggle from a psychological mental health standpoint, but also what are they interested in? We use the strong interest inventory. We've usually by then had them do the strengths finders, maybe the Myers-Briggs. There's a combination of personality testing. So MMPI, MCMI, those are kind of the clinical inventories that we do have them take those as well.
All right. I'm writing some
Yeah,
of this down.
I think
Strengths,
I think it's
Myers-Briggs.
great.
Okay.
Yep. Well, now we've done the strengths finders as like its own separate deal at a different time when they're
Oh,
younger.
okay.
And then like Vermeer, we do the Herman Brain. They do the Herman Brain personality type at Vermeer. So at other people's companies, a lot of times think about what you use with your employees, use that with your family earlier than later, because the two can overlap so well. The strengths of the family can impact culture positively of the
Sure.
business, but the professional development of the business can really impact the family so deeply as well. I remember we did this Herman Brain exercise at a family camp, and my mom and my cousin from Arizona, who they don't really even know each other. He had like long beard and very creative guy. We
Yeah.
got it like a spectrum of like the most extreme on this end and the
Sure.
most extreme on this end. And my mom and Chris were right next to each other, and they were like hugging at the end and going like, we discovered we're just alike.
That's really cool, isn't it?
Really cool. Yeah, like the family bonding that can happen too by doing some of this assessment. It can be great, as well as the team bonding.
So allowing it to happen at some level within a group discussion.
Oh
then,
yeah, it's
right?
great. Yep. Certain assessments are good to do in a group, like strengths finders, like Herman Brain, like Myers-Briggs.
Okay.
Like one that's popular right now is the Enneagram. You've probably heard about that one. No, you and I
I
need
don't
to talk
think I
about it.
have, but
That
I'll
one's
write
pretty
that
hot.
down too.
That one's pretty hot right now. So, but those are a little bit more like personality type tests, whereas I do like some of the I'd say that they may have a little bit more teeth in them about specifics, like what does it look like for their career pathing? What does it look like for their temperament style? Some of that sort of.
and maybe I'm missing this a little bit, but where do you guide for once you get into that? What are
Yeah,
your, career type strengths, and how does this,
yeah, we use the strong interest inventory as one of the
okay,
assessments. I think there's also a Milan assessment that aligns really well with career interest
okay,
and strengths in that regard. But we contract with another clinical psychologist to do like the whole battery of assessment and
yeah,
have sort of really individual focus, and then help them think about, what are they doing in terms of college or additional education or job choices, that sort of thing. Just
sure,
really encouraging that self-awareness for individuals is probably step one for the next gen. Self-awareness, not in like a self-absorption way, but in an awareness way. There's a
sure,
lot of self-absorption, if we are honest with ourselves, in our current culture. That's
yeah,
not healthy, but this is about, I am respecting who Heidi is and my strengths and my weaknesses, aware, right? And learning how to embrace that. Same with, you, Dan,
yeah.
and that relationship to others, and then trying to seek to understand others, being able to see them who they are.
I think that's a big key of what these personality things do, is not only help you understand you, but help you understand how to interact with those who aren't you, right?
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
trying to take some of that to heart is a big part of it.
Yep.
One thing I've already learned here, just in the 10 minutes we've been chatting, though, is, a lot of times I say this phrase, make sure that your kids know there's a spot on the bus for them. That's not, I shouldn't be saying it like that. I should be saying, make sure you're talking to your kids about what they want to do. And
Mhm.
if what they want to do, you know, can find its way into being a resource for your company, then you have a match, right? And otherwise
Right.
you might be putting somebody into a seat on the
Yeah.
bus that just isn't a fit for them.
Yeah. Well, I think it can fit, but I think you have to think about it from this standpoint again. I know, right? So
I like this. That's a
right,
pretty sweet graphic.
right. So the bus is the three spheres of family business.
Yeah.
And when we're born, we all start off in the family part of the bus. So there's a spot for us on the bus, whether or not we're going to
De
get
facto, they have to take us.
I know we're born. This is the only place in which really entitlement is allowed,
Sure.
in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I remember
I
my
highly,
sister
I
talking to my
highly
mom.
recommend. Yeah,
Yeah.
I highly recommend not having entitlement in this area as much, or this, or unhealthy entitlement. What I mean by unhealthy entitlement is like, I don't earn it.
Yeah.
I don't show myself responsible enough to function here or here. Well, then
Yeah.
don't let that, don't let those people there. Don't let those people get in there. Now that's not to say that they're lesser important, right?
Sure.
Because actually there could be huge impact for, the cousin of mine who has some cognitive disability, and she's just not probably going to be able to work the day-to-day job on the manufacturing floor, probably anywhere else at Vermeer. Nor does she have the cognitive capability to be able to be an owner herself. She's going to have to remain, probably have somebody be like her guarantor or her trust.
Yeah. Maybe a bit of a passive owner from that standpoint,
Right,
right?
right. But is her existence in our family huge? Absolutely. Does she have an impact on this whole system? For sure.
Probably more impact than other individuals have in some
Oh
ways,
yeah.
right?
In fact, my grandma Matilda, she would have said, and I'd say she was the beating heart in many ways. I mean, people still just like, oh, Matilda Vermeer, she only wanted to be here. She had no interest being down here really
Yeah.
at all. Now she did get into the ownership sphere to some degree, but she relied heavily on advisors that she trusted, on her husband after he passed, really on her kids. She really relied on them
Sure.
to help her with the ownership component. So again, I think the bus is a good one, but the clarity is not everybody has to fit on this part or this part, and nobody's going to stay just in one area. Like, you don't get born into the business, you have to find a way to get hired and you have to be qualified, which is why we have a family employment policy, why that's a best practice is always have a family employment policy, or as soon as you're able to. First generation, second generation, it's usually in the second generation, or sometimes in the
Sometimes
third.
we need all the help we can get, and if little Jimmy is all we can find, then we got to hire him anyway, type of thing.
Yeah, yeah, but it's never too late to start writing the policy.
That's correct. That's
Never
correct.
too late. Just go ahead and do it, right?
Keep your eye on the prize.
Yeah, and
Okay.
ownership too. Like, not every business has a buy-sell agreement. Well,
yeah.
that's fine. And think about developing one and start getting going on it, because you'll be glad you did. It won't be super fun, but it's not real hard either, So anyway,
Sometimes
I don't know if that helps, but
it does help.
But we're often thinking about kind of that balance of here's your family system, kind of where are you, and
Right.
and where are you thinking you might be, but then really your biggest priority is managing the me that is you, right? And being able to manage what are your feelings, what are your thoughts, what are your behaviors. We talk about that a lot in our peer groups, and a lot of the time I'm redirecting people because they're in what I call the ozone of others' outcomes and old stuff. I think you've heard this, Dan.
I have. I
You did a
love the
great job of
ozone.
looking like you didn't hear this before.
I want to let you go there though. Ozone. Okay.
Yeah, the ozone. Yep. Which is just liberating as that next gen starts to learn, so I can't control what Aunt Fran thinks or says. Nope, you can't, right? But being responsible to her, not for her, is what you're growing into, Now
Sure.
You are responsible for you. Oh, well, but I'm so mad at them and I'll never forgive them. Well, that might not be the smartest thing, because you could forgive. Forgive doesn't mean that you're saying what they did was okay. Forgive is saying, I'm going to let go of my anger. I've already said my piece once. It's probably all I need to say it, and I'm going to move on. I'm going to forgive,
right,
like
for your own self-health, right? Yeah.
Yep. Right. And so it's encouraging that next generation to mature as humans, to be more self-aware and self-responsible, and in relationship to others, remembering they're not responsible for others' outcomes and old stuff. Best thing we can do with the old stuff is learn from it. Best thing we can do with others and outcomes is pray about them and try to encourage as best we can. And that's about it. Like, one step at a time.
But knowing that those things in that ozone are out of our control.
Just are. Yep. It's okay that we care about them. I think that's part of how we're created, but we got to kind of stay in our lane of what's healthy control.
Yeah. And push our energies towards those things that we can
healthy control.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. One step.
Or that we can improve, of our own interactions with others, right? What part of that can we own and control, and what part can we not? So that becomes kind of a tricky dance, I suppose, doesn't it?
And it is a dance. That's a great way to think of it. And that you can only do your part of the dance.
All right. Well, let's this is awesome. I love talking to you, Heidi. You have such a great grasp for families, for families interacting with business, of course. And I feel like you delved into a lot of different topics that we can go down the road, governance, things of that nature surely are going to be coming up at some point. Communication, healthy communication, but for now, I think next gen, what I'm taking away today is a little bit of let's learn about who we are and who we're not. And knowing who we are, how do we interact with others? How do we,
I'd also just add, sooner than later, next gen's getting people to and they really need to take ownership of it, identifying and having regular meetings with mentors, identifying and getting some good counsel in their life, which might be a counselor, but it also might be, somebody who's farther along in their career, non-family, that you're just going to ask them to go to lunch, and you pay for the lunch for them,
Sure.
you like, and you have your list of things, you don't show up like you are, with a teacher and expect them to just pull things out of you, you
Right.
to learn. And that's even part of, I think, the growth for the next gen is learning how to
Be mentored.
be mentored. Yeah.
Make it easier for the mentor. Did you have a mentor as a younger person?
I've had lots of mentors. Yeah. And
Really?
oh yeah. Yeah. Yep. And so much supervision. Just
Is that something, I know you have children. Do you have any, are they maybe too young to start those kinds of things, or have you?
yeah, no, they are really kind of at the right age. I mean, I think right now some of their mentors look a little bit more like their youth group leaders
Sure.
and some of that sort of thing, because I've got teenagers. My son just started into college, so he's got access to some great advisors and profs that he'll probably start to do some mentoring with. But he's also going to be then in the next couple of years going through our nice deep psychological assessment, and we have put together, I don't know that we implement it as well as it could be. I'm sure there's room for improvement, but we do have like a mentoring setup at Vermeer to try to set people up with outside of family mentors, but also within family mentors.
Okay.
So like I could, be meeting on a regular basis with one of my more distant cousins.
Sure. Swinging from different branches of the tree there a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Or my aunt or my dad was a mentor for a lot of people. So it's good.
And healthy for both sides of that relationship, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of, and one of my best mentors, who's actually on our board, Kara Hayden is her name. She still is, but she is humble, which probably makes it for a good mentor as well. But she would always say, "Oh, we're really mentoring each other, Heidi and I." And I was like, that's so sweet.
That is pretty cool, isn't it?
She's like, "I'm learning so much from Heidi."
I feel like that's when you found the right mentor.
Yeah,
right?
Well, and I'd say we've just become really good friends, right, over the years. And
Sure.
And so I think that's, a lot of my mentors really now I would just call them really good friends. But boy, oh boy, I still look to them as wise,
Mm-hmm.
So we all need those people in our lives, and they're out there.
I think that's a great point too, trying to find them or helping your kids find them, helping your nieces and nephews find them. All right. Some personality assessments we can look to, some identifications of our strengths, and knowing that there may be a seat on the bus for us, but making sure it's the right seat is a good starting point for that next gen development. So
Correct.
This is awesome, Heidi. I really appreciate it.
Fun.
I hope we can have you on again. To be honest with you, you do such a great job with young people, especially as they're getting ready to move into their family companies. You have such a unique skill set of a background as a family business owner and employee. I think you were a Vermeer employee for a while, right?
Oh, yeah.
Department.
Yep, I was in the HR department, and then really kind of came back to develop our family office.
Yeah.
And it's been great. I've been able to sort of pass on the baton to the next family members that are very now much engaged in leading in our family office, and
let the new kids take over type of thing.
Yeah, and they're doing okay, really.
Well, that's because you developed them well as next gens.
Well, and we do also just give thanks to God, because it could go south anytime. But at the same time, we learn from those tough times too. So
very true.
Yep.
All right. Well,
all right. Thanks.
As I like to say, never go against the family. You can do anything you want, but never go against the family. So thank you very much, Heidi.
Yeah.
Thanks for being with us today.
You're welcome. Thank you. You do a great job, Dan. Appreciate you too.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Never Go Against the Family, a podcast produced by the University of Northern Iowa Family Business Center. You can find more information about the center, membership, and upcoming events at unifamilybusinesscenter.com. As Vito Corleone advises, never go against the family.